Well, hello folks, second live today. I want to do this one because I had a lot of American activity on my last post and everyone's bringing up Gavin Newsom, California. Yes, there's Cal exit, and then there's Gavin Newsom and the changes he's made to California in legislation that, folks, I can promise you, one thing about myself is I've read the United States Constitution entirely. Not only the USA, every nation in the world, at least of the UN states, I've read all of theirs, and even the countries that don't have one, that have basic laws and other non-constitutional higher authorities. As well as that, a long time ago I transitioned from that into all federalisms, because I live in a country known as Canada that is a federalism, but there exists no provincial constitutions, no territorial constitutions. Why this is problematic is because it gives autocratic power to all provincial and territorial governments with the division of powers, but zero highest laws. Now, Americans will understand this, even though a lot of folks don't necessarily read their state constitutions. Those state constitutions, just like Canada, are holding most of the power inside the USA for the people. They, in fact, hold all the sovereignty. So that being said, if Canada is much similar to US with some variances we're going to go through in just 2 seconds, but bear with me here, for Americans and Canadians, why provincial constitutionalism is so important, why we should pursue it first, but yet we don't, is beyond me. But understand this: California has a state constitution, just like every other state in the Union. They wanted to join the Union. They drafted a constitution that was passed. They agreed to the division of powers. They agreed to the checks and balances. They followed through an enabling act scenario passed by Congress that they wanted. Texas, so many other states went through it. Almost all of them in majority did this process. And they were approved. They were said, okay, you agreed to this, and you're going to codify this constitution. Okay, we go over it. Okay, you understand, you agree that the people of California in this state of the Union going forward will have these division of powers, these central items with these mandatory checks and balances. What you codify in your lane, you codify, but within the division of powers and under the U.S. Constitution. Wholeheartedly, they agreed. They got tremendous benefits for that. Becoming one of the greatest economies in the world, a state with one of the greatest economies in the world. In that division of powers, they were under the understanding that USA, in this federal system that all states contribute to, would build this military, that this federal military would take care of all the states, all of their needs on 100% free trade out on the world. You dream it, we, the federal system, will make that happen. We will be in charge of immigration, absolutely. And you know what, everybody? In the link of this title, I give you the California Constitution on naturalized citizens and immigration. You know what you find? Just like every single one of the 50 states, there is nothing on immigration for California. Now, yes, there's naturalization and voting rights of only naturalized citizens. Because why? The states control the voting situation. All individual states, that's their power. They had to codify that. We see arguments over that every day. But we never see, in the 50 states of the Union, arguments on immigration up until very recently. Because states of the Union, with huge trade agreements, with mass immigration provinces in Canada, California is one of the biggest trading partners with Canada. Specifically, Alberta is a massive trading partner of California, as well as Quebec, who have the most corrupt immigration system probably in the world. Beyond the federal government, there's a huge corrupt, very illegal immigration program in Canada's provinces, built in Quebec, reciprocated in British Columbia, and then attached. And for a very long time, a very, very long time, California got in bed with this system. Long before Gavin Newsom, governors of the state of California started enacting laws in full violation of not only the U.S. federal Constitution, but in contravention and violation of the California state Constitution. These are unconstitutional laws. Now, I was thinking about what kind of bet I would like to make with Donald J. Trump, everybody, on the Edmonton Oilers versus the Florida Panthers, as we're tied 1 game apiece. Now I want more action on 51st State. I see a lot of complaining that Donald J. Trump's not doing enough. So I'm thinking of announcing a major bet that if my Oilers win against the Florida Panthers, Donald J. Trump's team, if my Oilers win, Donald J. Trump's going to have to push the 51st State on a weekly basis for the next year. He has to always mention reasons why we should be the cherished 51st State. For my answer to that is they're having so many problems with California. I know entirely all the secessionists in California, all those that were blessed by Gavin Newsom, who doesn't really necessarily want succession in the union. He wants to put tremendous pressure on Donald J. Trump and the Republicans. I want to teach, and this is my promise if Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup, I will put my time in building consistently educational videos that I will promote in the state of California and even in New York, where these gross violations are happening in immigration, and the court system in place for the state of California and the state of New York at the district level, how to empower any two Republicans in any two of those states to see a court challenge made against that. How I will teach what the Democrats have usurped using against Donald J. Trump. I will teach that to Republican committees in those two states over the next year. Just like Donald J. Trump would weekly have to do this for Canada, the 51st state. If the Oilers win, I will educate New York and California Republicans on how to citizen initiate Supreme Court or even the highest district court level challenge to investigate these happenings, to rule whether they're constitutional. Not only we know at the federal level, I'll teach Americans how to do that, I promise that. I will teach you to do it at the state of California and the state of New York level. I will teach that accurately. I'll make professional videos and I'll promote that in Republican committees. Because ultimately, it's not only unconstitutional what Gavin Newsom and those Democrats are doing with immigration at the state level, at the federal level, meaning the federal constitution breach. I'm not going to get into what's completely treasonous. I'll leave that up to Americans because I don't want to get banned from the United States dealing with the wrong immigration officer. But I would teach that, and I would teach that for Americans to utilize and how they can get that done. Word for word. Not only everybody and all Americans, not only at the federal level, but actually at the state level, the district size system, the We the People courts. They all have different names, but I will showcase where that has to be done, how it has to be done, how only 2 Americans need to do that. You can get as many volunteers. I'll teach you how that runs just like an election in Canada. It's almost funny how our provincial elections operate that way when you want party status to build a party, specifically like Alberta, the province. But that district court system of We the People is available to all Americans. And I will teach them things like treason, on these political actors and how you can take them to court and not cost you $1, and that the state will have to pay. And yes, it costs taxpayers, but how you can get the FBI, Homeland Security, and others working for you. A beautiful, blessed thing that Americans should be very familiar with, because it's a we the people power, that a Canadian's wet dream, the Boilermakers who were successful at it, little Joe Janes who went out and did that and took on a massive tyrant, pretty much a criminal enterprise here that spanned the globe, literally right to Ukraine. That's how serious this was. This is why Donald J. Trump says, no way Ukraine, very corrupt. He knows with the Democrats, he knows even with what happened with the Boilermakers, who are in fact behind him, but the membership. And we cleaned house like nobody else in a long American history, done by average Joe Jane. So think about that. Welders and Boilermakers did that. Think about that. That's a beautiful thing. And I love that. It was fun to see that, experience that. And I'll teach that. I got to showcase on my Facebook and even in my union and my international, and how beautiful that was that we did that. But now it's like, you know what, Americans should know how to do that, not keep it in the hands of Democrats who are using it as a weapon. It's a we the people system. It's time it starts working for the people again. And I'll do that in a bit. And I promise you, I can show just how to win that at the state level and turn it around in California, proving that no justice would rule any other way than for the Constitution and invalidate Gavin Newsom's laws, some of which he helped perfect and made changes to, adding additions that he had approved that really aren't even constitutional. But the people of California, any two Americans, should be allowed to challenge that, have the resources provided for them. There is some volunteer work, but I'll go through all that. That would be my bet. And that's what has to be done, because that's pushing the people's power forward as it was intended to be. God bless everybody. That's my video. Share. Get it out there, especially for Americans.